There were several questions about the GitHub exercise that we did in class, so I thought I'd do a recording playing back what we did once more. In order to be able to do this, you first need to install GitHub, and the instruction to do so are in this document, the pre-read to do before class. So if I open that up and I scroll down, you'll see here that first you need to install Git. Then after that, you need to follow the instructions on both of these videos. If you are on Mac, follow that one. If not, here is the one for Windows. Now, once you've done that, don't forget to enter your names in the sign up for the class, and there's the link for that as well. Now let's go back to the notes, and as you see here in the GitHub overview, the big item to make sure you catch when it comes to the configuration is that you enter your username and email. And those steps are outlined here. Here is your username and here is your email. Now, all of this I detail through in the videos that I mentioned, the ones that are in the pre-read. So if you go through that, you'll do that as part of the process of the installation. Now, once you have that in place, now we're gonna go ahead and use Visual Studio to be able to create a repo locally. And then we will be repeating the exercise that I did in class. Now I'm going to start up by creating the repository in GitHub. And so I'm going to navigate to my account on GitHub, which is simply github.com abelsun. And I'm going to go ahead and navigate to repositories. I've deleted the one we created in class, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to go ahead and call it hello once again. I'm going to call it demo for class. I'm going to go ahead and make it public. I'm going to add a readme. I'm not going to add a git ignore. And I'm going to go ahead and enter the license of MIT license. So that's all we need to do to create the repository. I'm going to go ahead and click on create. And in a few moments, as you can see here, we have a repository. Now we need to go ahead and open up this repository from Visual Studio. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Visual Studio Code, as you can see. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up that repository. Before I do, I need to grab the URL. And as you can see here, that is abelsun/hello for me. So now I'm going to go ahead and enter it. And as you can see there, it is prompting me as to where I want to put it. I have once again created a directory on my desktop, and I've called the directory dev, and I'm going to select this as my repository location. And as you can see there, that is being copied, and now I'm being asked whether I would like to open the cloned repository. I'm going to go ahead and open it, and you can see here my files. That is simply the license and then the README. Now at this point, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a file, hello.txt, like I did in class. And I'm going to go ahead and add to it hello. And that's all I'm going to do. Now, as you can see here on source control, I have already a change, that new file that I've created. And I'm simply going to enter here demo class as the name, and I have not synced the credentials on this machine for my account. So let's see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and commit these changes. There are no state changes to commit. Let's go ahead and just say yes. And as you can see there, that went through. Now I'm going to go ahead and push those changes up. And here is where I'm not sure exactly what will happen. So let's go ahead and click on that. This will pull and push. Let's see. Wants to sign in using GitHub. Let's allow it. And as you can see here, it is asking me to open up Visual Studio. This is the cycle of authorization. Let's just go ahead and click through. And it looks like that went through okay. So now it is asking me if I want to continue to check for it. I'm going to go ahead and say no at this point. Now let's go ahead and change, let's go ahead and take a look at the repo and see if those changes made it up. Let's go ahead and reload the project. And yes, as you can see here, the changes made it up. So at this point, we want to publish. I mentioned that GitHub is a platform. It has a tremendous amount of functionality, but one of the many type of built-in extensions to the version control system is that of being able to publish something publicly. That is, have it function as a server for your HTTP content. And so in this case, we're simply going to publish the hello. Then later I will add all of the additional files that we did. But for now, we're going to start out simply. And so I'm going to go ahead and navigate to settings. Then I'm going to select on pages. Then when I get here, you can see here deploy from branch. The branch that we only have one. We just created the repository. So the branch would be main. I'm then going to go ahead and save it. And once I do, you can see here that your GitHub Pages site is currently being built from the main branch. Give it some time. For me, during class, it took a few minutes. For some others in class, it took longer. It's not unusual if a lot of people are pushing at the same time for this to take some time. I would say give it up to an hour. If it doesn't work after an hour, then something might be wrong. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pause and let it sync, and I'll restart the recording once that is available. In my case, it only took a couple of minutes for that to become available. As you can see here, I have the link. If this is the root of the application, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to paste it onto my address, and then the name of my file. At this point, I only have one, so it's hello text. I'm going to go ahead and hit return, and as you can see there, we get our hello. This is the simple file that we created, hello.txt, and that we only wrote hello. So now let's go ahead and add those other HTML files, the ones that had the big lion. So let's go ahead and work on that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and download the files. As you can see here, this is the Bootstrap cover. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and this will download onto my environment. As you can see here, I have the file. This is just on my downloads on my local machine. I'm going to go ahead and expand that. And inside of that folder are the files that we saw in class. I'm going to go ahead and make them a little bit bigger so you see what they are. And as you can see there, the default, it's simply a gray background. I have some flowers, a beach, and a lion. Now, if you drag and drop the HTML file, you will be able to see the default, which is just this 00 image. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And as you can see there, we see that. Now let's go ahead and drag and drop all these files onto our project, which in my case is called hello. I'm going to drag it into the window so you can see here my work. I'm inside of my desktop, as you can see, in a folder called dev. Now I'm going to move inside of hello, and I'm simply going to copy all of these files onto my directory. As you can see there, I have added all of them. And now when I go back to Visual Studio, you will be able to see that this is available inside of Visual Studio. So let's go ahead and close this file. Let's go back here to the listing. You can see here the images. You can preview them inside of Visual Studio. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to index. This is the root of the application. And the one that you need to edit is cover.css. The image, the one with the gray background, is 00. And I'm going to go ahead and select the same one that I did in class, which is 3. Now I'll go back to the browser and reload the page just so you can see the change. Now, if you reload this page, as you can see here, this is the folder that we have within my downloads. However, the one we're now working with is the one inside of the dev folder that is in the hello project. So make sure you're working on the right one. As you can see, this is here the hello, and I have here now all of those files that I copied over. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop it. And as you can see there, now I have the big lion. If I go back to the other folder, just to emphasize the point, that is in a different path, a different directory. So we've copied over all of our files into the project, and we can see them now in Visual Studio. And we've made the change and we've confirmed it. So let's go ahead and close this. Let's go to our source control. Let's commit, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it Lion. I'm gonna go ahead and commit here, say yes, and then I'm going to go ahead and push up my changes. You can see here that I am confirming, and you can see there the syncing going on. Everything is 0 here, meaning there's nothing pending. Now, if I go back to my code, you can see here that I have all of those files, and now those files will simply be updated on the next refresh by the platform. So if I check here within a few minutes, I will be able to open up that index.html, that Lion file. So I'll wait for that to refresh. And now it looks like that has, so I'm going to go back to the path. The root of the application is index.html, so I'm going to go ahead and enter that. And as you can see here, now we have the Lion, but note that this address now is globally accessible. So anyone in the world can now access this page, and you can see here that we have gone through the full cycle. So we created a repository, we cloned it locally, we added first a hello.txt, then we added some HTML pages, we uploaded all of those changes up into GitHub. We made this content available through GitHub pages, and we made that publicly available. So there's the full cycle. I will go ahead and post this video. Hopefully that will be useful.